In this presentation, we will enter or assign credit card payments into our bookkeeping system using an easy method within QuickBooks Online. When we say this is going to be an easy method, we're going to just assign the credit card payments that we see on the bank statement in a cash basis method. We're going to say it cleared the bank, and then we're going to enter that into our QuickBooks system just as basically a credit card expense. This will be very easy to do. It won't give us the detail, however, on what we paid those for or allow us to categorize the expenses into the categories we would most like to choose, or give us the vendor breakout as we would like to see as well. However, it does fit well within the simple bookkeeping system of simply taking the information as it clears the bank statement, not deviating from a cash basis to more of an accrual basis, which is something we would typically need to do to deal with the credit cards recording the liabilities. Then we'll talk next time about a couple different methods we can use to deviate from our cash basis method to more of an accrual method to record that liability for the credit card rather than just recording a lump sum expense at the point in time that it clears the bank. We'll start off, however, with sticking with the cash basis method. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are in our guitar lessons and equipment file. We're going to start off by going to the left side to those reports once again. We're going to go to our favorite report, that being the profit and loss report, one of the two favorites at least. We're going to go up top and change those dates once again to 01/01/19, 02/28/19, and run that report. January through February. We are now looking at the credit card. So we made a credit card payment and we entered that into the uncategorized expenses. So in other words, we saw credit card payments in both January and February. And when we see the payment on the bank statement, of course, it's just going to be to the credit card company. We're just going to see a credit card payment that went to, in this case, Visa. Here's the payment. We have the $850 in January. Notice just going to go to Visa. That's all we'll see on the bank statement. So all we see is the fact that we paid Visa when we paid it. What we don't see is whether or not we paid the minimum payment or whether we paid the full balance off, number one. So is there an outstanding balance? And number two, we don't know who the Visa paid, right? We don't know what the payment was for. In other words, of course, we put something on charging it to the account for Visa, and those vendors are the things we really need to properly assign to the proper expense account. We don't have those. In order to do that, we would need the Visa statement. So that's going to be our issue here. There's two issues. One, there could be a deviation from the cash basis method in that the payment's not being fully paid off. And if that's the case, then we have a question, do we want to deal with that? Do we want to deviate from a cash basis method and record the liability, which again is a deviation from the cash basis method? And the other is the fact that we don't see the detail. So the easiest thing to do here is to just put this information into one account. We could put it into basically credit card expense or supplies expense just to show that it is there and let the client know that we're not breaking this out into any kind of detail. To break it out into the detail, you would need to go through the credit card statements to find the detail. So that's one method. That's what we'll start with. We're just going to take this, say, hey, we're going to stick with a cash basis, the easiest method we can have, and take it out of the uncategorized, put it into basically just an assigned expense account. We're just going to call it credit card expense so that you could see that it's not being assigned anywhere else. And then if you want to know the detail, more detail than that, you'll have to go to the credit card statement and look at the more detail. Now, if the credit card is somewhat immaterial, there's not a lot of activity to it, then that might not be too bad of a system to go. If there is a lot of activity, if it's material, then of course it would be much better to go through that statement and break out to the proper expense accounts. And if there's an existing loan or liability on the credit card, meaning we're not paying off the full amount each month, then we may want to deviate from a cash basis and record that liability. We'll take a look at those options next time. We'll see that, of course, on our open items, we've named this. We said, hey, here's the credit card. What should we do with this? Do you want us to give us more detail? If you want more detail with it, whether it be our books or our clients, we're going to need the credit card statements, to enter that detail. If not, if you just want to keep us on a cash basis, we're just going to assign it to a credit card expense so you know it's there. And if you want the detail, then you just go to your credit card statements to see who the vendors are that were paid for. And then we have the Visa credit card for the second month as well. So if we go back to our profit and loss, what we're going to say is we put it into the uncategorized account. So we're going to go into uncategorized. We're going to have these two amounts that were paid for credit cards. I'm going to hit the hamburger up top. We're hitting the hamburger. And then we're going to scroll down and we're looking for the credit card, which we paid to Visa. Here's one and here's one. These are the two items we need to take out of uncategorized. We're going to put somewhere. We're just going to assign it to an expense account called credit card. So we've selected that item. We're in the check. We're just going to reassign it from uncategorized expense to just credit card. And is that a normal expense? No, you don't have it. I mean, and if you did see that, if you saw credit card expense, you would probably assume it would be like bank charges or something not like that, not the actual things we paid for on the credit card. So we're labeling it here kind of as just an indication to say, this is where all your credit card stuff is. If you want more detail to it, you've got to pull out the credit card statements and look at the more detail. If you want to create financial statements with it, then you're either going to have to go to the credit card statement, pull out more detail for it, or just lump this credit card amount into some other account if it's not material. So in other words, it might you could put it into miscellaneous expense or something like that if you wanted to group this information. We're just going to put it into credit card to label it so it will be expensed, because the assumption, of course, is that all the expenses on the credit card are business related, but we don't know exactly the detail of what those expenses are. So it will be an expense account. We're going to add this account. It's going to be expenses. And then the subcategory, just going to choose other business expenses. So a credit card is the name, expenses, we're going to say save. And there we have it. And so now I'm just going to save and close this and say yes. And that has been removed up top. And now we're just going to do the same thing for the second month, the February credit card payment that we made. Obviously note as well that when we make the credit card payment, we probably are making it in the following month. So clearly if this was made in February, it's really for expenses that happened in January. And also note that as we enter it, when it clears the bank, that there's going to be that timing issue because we consumed the expenses in the prior month, or maybe even before that, and we're paying for it in this month. So how do we account for that timing issue right now? We're on a cash basis, and therefore we're not really recording those expenses until we pay it at a later time period. And if there's an outstanding loan balance, then on a cash basis, you can see we're really starting to distort things because we have this loan, we bought all this stuff and we got this loan that we're not recording on the books because we're not going to record it under a cash basis until we pay off the loan and see it clear the bank. So just recognize that kind of distortion when we use the cash basis, and that credit cards is a common issue, a common problem, even for small companies that we'll have to deal with. So we'll select this item and we'll then say this is going to now go into our new credit card expense account. So there's credit card, and then we're going to save and close that and save that. And there it is. They've been removed from uncategorized. If we go back to our reports up top, we'll see that the credit card is right there. So it's still an expense. We still have it there. It's still on a cash basis. And we're just basically telling the reader of this, whether it be the CPA firm or whether it be the client, that, hey, we're on a cash basis. We just put that money as it came out of the bank into credit card because we don't know exactly what the vendors are. If it's not material, then you can group it where you want for tax preparation or for financial statements. If you feel you need the detail and it is material, then you're going to have to go to the statements and break that out. And of course, you can do that on, say, an Excel sheet or something like that, just to break out this information to assign it to the proper expense accounts if needed. We'll talk about doing that, of course, next time. And in order to do that, we'll have to add the added problem of looking at the bank statement and then deciding how we're going to assign these payments out in accordance, looking with the credit card statement, how we're going to go through that issue of assigning this out with the credit card statement, plus the fact that if they didn't pay it all off each month, how are we going to deal with that outstanding liability? That's what we'll talk about next time. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.